Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good supper time, wherever you are in the world. Hello, it is Wednesday, which means we are one game away. Oh, look, we've got Lubo in his car. Here he is. He loves it. We are one day away from European football, and it feels like we've not played for ages. So I hope that Jed Spence is well rested with his 8 much-needed days off after playing 11 games of football across 6 or 7 months. I hope he's okay. I really hope his legs are okay. I jest, of course. Look who I've got. I've got some really interesting characters here from all over the United Kingdom. Look, we've got Corey, the mouth of the South. He's down in Brighton, if I'm not wrong.
I am.
Good. He's in Brighton. Mark, you're somewhere in the West Country.
I may be.
Good. Don't worry. I wasn't going to give your. I wasn't going to
No,
give
no,
your
no,
road
no,
name
no.
and your
No.
postcode. Don't worry. I was just.
I live
I
in the back end of nowhere.
the back end of nowhere. Absolutely. Talking about back end of nowhere, Danny had an opinion yesterday that was out of the back end of nowhere. Good morning, Danny. How are you?
Morning. I'm all right. Got my coffee.
Yeah. How you doing? You ready for some more
I'm fine.
craziness this morning?
If you want to carry that opinion on, let's go for it.
Oh gosh,
Two
no.
cups of
One
coffee.
of our own.
We can't. We did this. By the way, guys and girls, listen, just quickly, I'll say hello to Lubo, who could be anywhere right now in the world. He's always on the motorway somewhere. Where are you, Lubo?
I'm between Nottingham and Leicester on the M1.
I was about to say somewhere
Good.
down the M1.
Good. He was
There you
dropping
go.
Archie Gray off at Leicester City because he'll be there with them in the Championship next season. Big up, Lubo. Thanks for your kindness to these young players. Just so everyone knows, yesterday's debate was absolutely good fun. And did it stop the moment the camera stopped? Did it? Heck, it went on for about 6 hours. And
If
there's
not
still
longer.
little remnants this morning of little digs here or there. Henry versus Kane.
And you've got to admit, it was quite 50-50 on opinions on the WhatsApp.
Of course it was, because you were in a Spurs WhatsApp group. Of course it
I don't think
was.
that had nothing to do with it.
Oh, of course it did. Imagine I went into a Man United WhatsApp group right now, or a Chelsea WhatsApp group, or Liverpool. None of them are picking Kane. Anyway, I'm not doing it. We can't do it. Dan, I'm sure we can find something equally as funny to row about in the next 2 hours.
What Lubu said about Bale?
Right. So, do you know what? I don't know why I'm going to do this. Just so everyone knows, yesterday in the chat, so Dan was saying, look, the way he wants to play, he gave his formation and said he'd have Kane as his target man. And then we said, okay, so Henry goes to your left, right? Then Lubo said, no, Gareth Bale was a better left-sided player than Henry. And it was like, so Henry doesn't get in anywhere, but it was good fun. It was very, very, very good fun. And
I put him on the right.
yeah, he could do an
400
It's
something
obviously
messages.
ideal. Can you imagine
400
that?
and something messages when I
you
checked in
imagine
on it.
Bale, Kane and Henry. You ain't going to get much better.
It wouldn't be bad. Yeah, listen, I'll swap them all for Lionel Messi on his own. But hey, listen, that's a conversation for another day. Guys and girls, before we get going with some Spurs content and whatever we descend into, which is the beauty of these football chats in the morning, there's no rules. No one tells me or these boys what to do. Smash the like button. Before we do anything, smash that like button. Let's not do what we've done for the last couple of weeks. It's been really crap. Spurs are playing. Let's smash that like button, please. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. This has been my worst ever 2-week period for subs. Ever, by the way, ever. Like, I mean, ever. From the moment I started the channel, this last 2 weeks, I have gone up and down, and I've been level for 2 weeks on subs. So I haven't gone anywhere. So please, if you haven't subbed, please do subscribe to Danny at the Hotspur Hood and subscribe to the 2 Mark Show for Mark, the Sheriff, and of course, the Cookmeister.
Get well soon, Cookmeister. Get well soon, Cookmeister. And read your WhatsApp, mate.
Get well soon. Read your WhatsApp and welcome to 2025, the Cookmeister. Come on, we're not sending you pigeons for messages anymore, all right? Guys, let's start with some Tottenham news. Probably the most inevitable news we've been waiting for a long time is that Kulusevski has now decided that now other players are back, he's injured. Kulu is injured. The news broke a couple of days ago from a few questionable sources. Some people saying they were reliable, and it turns out they have been reliable. Let me start with you, Corey. It was inevitable that this was coming from the amount of games that Kulusevski's played, right? Surely it's been coming.
Yeah, it was. I would say it was on the red. You know, you've got all these players that seem to be sitting in this weird colour bracket nowadays. He's in the green, he's in the amber, he's in the red. The guy has played pretty much every minute of football going this season, and it's just a shock that his injury hasn't come sooner rather than later. You know, this whole season has just been a farce with injury after injury. We can't keep any consistency. We win 3 games against, we win 3 games against bottom of the middle teams, really, or teams struggling. And then we play a team like City and get battered. Well, not battered, but lose 1-0. And then a few days later, Kulu's injured. It's crazy, isn't it? And then you've got, all of a sudden, Romero's woken up because Argentina won him. It's just, you know what I mean? Like, he's had his winter hibernation, because there's no food around in the winter months for like animals in the forest. He's decided to take a 6-month nap, and now Argentina have come calling, and he's back. It's just everything. It's just comical. The medical team should have the balls to say to Ange, "Look, mate, these guys aren't fit. They're not playing," but they don't.
Well,
they do, Corey. They do. Ange doesn't listen to them.
Well, there's that.
Why do you think the head of the medical team left? Because this manager doesn't listen to anybody. Just does his own thing. It's mad. It's absolutely mad what's going on down there.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, look, Mark, the sheriff. Let me ask you, Kulusevski out injured. Does this mean we're now finally going to start to see James Maddison actually play and not be the sacrificial lamb in every single team selection or substitution that Ange makes?
I expect he still will be. There'll be an excuse to drop him at some stage.
Yeah.
Obviously, because for some reason, our most talented, in my opinion, creative player doesn't seem to get on with the manager. He's probably bored of everyone in his space, mind, but for some reason, I think they fell out, to be honest. Because
for sure.
Why would you drop him? To be honest, is the first question. I mean, you can understand if he's not performing, but he don't, but he is, to be honest. And then he gets hooked. When we're desperate for a goal, he just takes him off, and that's, who else is going to create in that team? All the rest of the midfielders are more or less the same. They do the same. So to me, it's mystifying, but there we go. That's Tottenham and Ange for you. That's why I got this shirt on. It reminded me of better times.
I mean, Dan, it's interesting, isn't it? Because if we can't seem to ever talk about Kulusevski without talking about James Maddison because of them both being, attacking midfielders, playmaker types. With that in mind, are you surprised that throughout this entire season, it is always Maddison that's taken off? We could be 4-0 up. And Kulu stays on, Maddison goes off every game. And for me, that's really bad management in terms of what has probably accumulated now to Kulu picking up an injury. Or are we just using a stick to beat Ange with here? What do you make of it?
No,
you're on mute.
What I think it comes down to, again, it depends what style you want to play, really. Yeah. Give me 2 secs. I've got to turn my VPN off. It's playing up.
Okay, no worries. Shall I go to Lubo quickly? I'll go to Lubo.
Yeah,
Lubo,
I'm here.
The same question I just asked Dan to you with all of these opportunities he's had to rest Kulu, take him off instead of Maddison. It's always Maddison. It's always Maddison. It's always somebody else. It's never ever Kulu. Has this come back to bite him in the arse now?
He has no idea, does he? It's they've all been injured now, pretty much. The players that have played the most minutes have now gone down. I mean, Kulu wasn't in the red zone. I think he was probably in the purple zone. It's absolute madness. Should have left him out completely against City last week. Just give the guy a rest. This is why it doesn't matter that there's only 8 days between games. This is what happens. It's an accumulation of wear and tear on his body, and the body just can't put up with this amount of pounding that Ange puts the players through. Whole thing's completely nuts at our club.
He's
just
absolutely knackered him. He's absolutely knackered, Kulu. Now I can understand again. For me, it goes a bit deeper into what style you want to play again. If you want your attacking midfielder, playmaker, whatever you want to call him, to have a bit more muscle, hold the ball, charge forward, Kulusevski's the one that gets the pick. If you want your man to be a lot more creative and be able to have a lot more ability to pass the ball, this and that, then Maddison gets the pick. But he's totally rinsed Kulu exactly the same he has Porro and other players on there. But I think Porro and Kulusevski are the main two he has absolutely run into the ground, apart from obviously the injuries with Van der Ven. I mean, there's a few games we should have seen Porro off and someone else take his place. His rotation has just been terrible, absolutely terrible. And I think, again, it was obvious it was going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, but it goes back to, doesn't it, when you look at players that I keep hearing, well, who could he have rotated with? I mean, when you look at Porro, for example, like Dan just said there, guys, all season, Jed Spence has been sitting there. All season, Jed Spence has been sitting there, could have played games, and instead we got half the fan base lapping up this nonsense excuse about, well, I wanted to test Jed Spence. You look at Kulu. Maddison could have played some of the games where Kulu's played, but he didn't. He always played Kulu. Mikey Moore could have played out on that wing. Somebody else could have played out on that wing. But it's always, he's played him through thick and thin. My question to you guys is this. How much of a miss is Kulu? Because I think the Kulu from the first 3 months of the season, for me, is a big miss. The Kulu from the last 3 months of the season, I don't think is a miss at all. So where do you guys stand with how much of a miss he's going to be for the next 2-3 weeks?
It depends where he's playing.
The
Kulu in the middle is a miss. Kulu on the right, in my opinion, anyway, he's not as effective. He said when he came, his preferred position is number 10, and yet we try and shoot.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, you carry on, mate.
With that, I agree with what you're saying. I told everybody bloody year and a half ago that he's not a right-sided player, and when Juventus got Chiesa and whatever else. But do you know what? I sort of disagree with it in a way at the moment. Again, it comes down to your tactics and how you want to play the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You got Porro there and you're inverting him. Johnson is a waste of space anyway, as far as I'm concerned, apart from his tap-ins, which we do need them, so fair play, he scores the goals. But he ain't going to cover your backside down the wing. Whereas Kulusevski is actually capable of actually giving you that bit of cover down the side. I'm not saying he's brilliant at it, but he's 10 times better at it than Johnson. And he can hold the ball on the midfield side. He can defend the right inverted wing back a little bit, whereas Johnson can't do it for love nor money. So I think in some games we'd miss him more on the right. In some games we'd miss him more in the central. I think, again, it all comes down to the tactical side of how Ange wants to do it as such.
Dan, would you say, see, for me, I'd have no problem, and I think this might be taken on to what you've said. We might agree on something here, Dan. For me, I think if you've got, look, when players are put on a position, for a starting 11, doesn't necessarily even have to stay there. So from my point of view, I've got no problem with Kulu starting on the right. But what should be happening with the player that Porro is Porro should just be overlapping the whole time and allowing Kulu to drift inside and almost join in with as a false 10, if you like. But we don't play like that. We kind of have Son and Kulu hugging the touchline when neither of them are hugging the touchline type wingers. And again, for me, I know people will say I'm biased because I don't like Ange, but for me, this is again where he doesn't get the best out of him, whether he starts in the middle or out wide right. And the other thing I'll say, guys, is, Mark is right in terms of, Kulu did say his best position is a number 10. But you think one of the first signings that Ange made, knowing that he had Kulusevski, was James Maddison, who is a number 10. So it kind of like, I'd love to know, when they were putting that squad together in summer one, I'd like to know, what did he think? Right, I've got Kulu. He signed off on making Kulu permanent. His first or second signing was James Maddison. I'd love to know, what was the thinking in your mind, guys? What was the thinking behind, how am I going to get them both into my 11?
The thing is with Ange, he constantly puts square pegs in round holes.
Sure.
He just, he doesn't. For a start, Sonny is not a winger. He never has been, never will be. Johnson is not a winger. Never has been, never will be. They're both inside forwards, one on the left, one on the right. That's exactly what they were. When Son was with Kane, he was almost a second striker. Almost. But he was, he wasn't a winger. But Ange seems to, I don't know, he's got some stupid ideas. He seems, instead of finding player, he just sort of shoehorns players in, square pegs in round holes and all that, and it's not working, because our front line at the moment looks toothless. Who's scoring?
Yeah,
I totally agree. Son was never a winger for me, and I've had this debate with a lot of people. Son was not a good winger. He can't cross come love nor money.
No.
Same as Johnson. Okay, you get more crosses in than Johnson, but 9 times out of 10, Son could never cross, and his passing was never spot on as such for what I would want a winger to do. He was always an inside forward, and that was what he is best at. And I think that is where you'll see the best. I think Kulusevski is best in the middle, but if you want that defence on the right, he should be using him on the right as such to cover it, but also coming in while Porro overlaps him as well. Ange just don't work the players to what they could be best at. He just don't do it. I totally agree with what you both said.
So, Lumbo, let me ask you then. What was the plan when he brought in Maddison and Kulu in the same transfer window? What was the plan? Because it's not worked. If we're going to be honest, over the last 2 years, he's not found a way of having them both in and getting the best out of both of them at once, has he?
The only game that he did where they played well was the 4-0 win at City this year.
Agreed.
Maddison scored 2.
Agreed.
And he played a much more, whether he played it or we had to play a much more pragmatic lower block. I think the whole issue is that you haven't got a 6. So it's difficult to play the two of them together. They are, we talk about them as 10s, but they are very different players. Maddison is what you would call a more basic 10. Kulu's a little bit different. They've both got their own skill sets. There is no transfer policy or strategy at this club, and it's carried on with January. Why did we buy Kinski when we had 7 keepers? Why did we go and get Tell when we needed a proper striker who was established that could come in and hit the ground running? So the policy of bringing Maddison in when he had Kulu there, I'm sure Kulu was saying to him in training, I'm a 10, I'm not a 7.
Yeah.
It worked well. Fun enough, he played wide under Conte, and it worked very well in Conte's first season. But I think we've seen, particularly, you look at something like, it's interesting because the goal we scored against Rangers when Kulu picked the ball up on the right, played a 1-2 with Maddison. Was it Maddison, I think, and then buried the ball in the corner? Was Kulu coming in off the right? The problem you've got, the whole problem, is there is no 6 to cement things. If we had a 6 that played in front of the back 2, so you had 3 at the back, not 2, when a team counter-attacked, then life would be a lot easier for the team. We'd give away less goals, we'd be under less pressure, we'd have more momentum during games, which could result in more goals. And for me, that's the problem. It's just a massive problem not having a 6, and it has impacted it has impacted on the Maddison Kulu situation.
But with Angie's
really
style,
has.
if we play with a 6, don't we lose our 10? Because he plays more of a... I mean, people say he plays a 4-3-3. I think he goes for more of a 4-2-3-1 sort of thing. And that
But
means we have to give up a 10, basically, for a 6, doesn't it?
Well, no, it doesn't, because you give up an 8.
No?
And maybe Kulu plays slightly deeper. If you've got a 6 who gets around the pitch very quickly, I mean, look at the midfield this year. It's been horrendous.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
been
totally.
horrendous for a year.
I get what you mean.
So it's going to be whatever you get. If you get yourself a really good 6, then who gets around the pitch?
Then you'd have to play Maddison from basically a centre mid going into a 10 position, basically, because you can't just leave one person in midfield with the DM sitting right further behind, or you'd have to play him on a double sort of thing, on a box to box, which we're already doing.
Guys, doesn't this show right? I don't think I've ever in my history of being a Spurs fan talked about one position on a pitch for more than 2 years the way we have the number 6, right? I genuinely don't think I've ever heard a fan base talk so much about a six. And yet the manager is the one that has said he doesn't play with a number 6. But if ever you looked at a team, guys, in world football and said they need a 6, it is Tottenham Hotspur, isn't it? It's, you know, you can look at City right now and go, God, they need a 6. But they've got one. He's just injured, right? Yeah. If anything, and do you know what? This is the funny thing, guys, for me. I genuinely think with a better manager and better coaching, if you add a number 6 into this team and a proper winger, I think you've got a really good team. I genuinely think you've got a really good team that could be in that. Like when we're saying, oh, our players aren't good enough for top 4. But, well, listen, I'll be honest. When I look at some of the other squads around there, I don't think they've got better squads than us. But they're not all gung-ho and wide open. So will he ever concede that he needs a 6? Or is the vanity not going to allow him to do that, chaps?
No, he's too proud.
His ego getting in the way. His ego's too far in the way of him wanting to play his system. So, again, down to Ange, his tactics and the way he coaches things. That's why we're so appalling to watch this season. And
he's too proud. He is literally too proud. He won't admit. He will not admit and backtrack on what he's done.
Or is it that he just doesn't have the general football knowledge to do anything else?
Possibly that.
Because it does come across both sides. And when we have played better, we go back to this other story again of what a few of us have been preaching now for a long time. We look far, far better as a fast counter-attack direct team. Yeah? I've said it for ages. We'd be better with a 5 at the back, if you want to call it a 5-2-2-1 or a 5-2-1-2 or 3-4-1-2. People basically call that formation 2 different formations. But when we've been forced to not play with inverted wing backs, has it been, this is the question I keep asking myself and others, is it that Ange made that magical decision and it worked? Or is it that just the way the other team was pushing us so hard, we had no other option and the others could not invert and we ended up playing that way and looked twice the team for it?
I think it's the latter. I really think it's the latter. I really don't think that he knows how to change to be more pragmatic. I think, you know, if you're defending and you push back, then you push back, aren't you? You're going to have to drop back and defend.
I've got a theory on that as well. His tactics work for only like lesser leagues. It's all right rocking up to managing Celtic and playing like that because you've got 11 other teams in the league that are shit. If you don't mind my language there on that.
No. He's made 16 signings, 16 or 17 signings if you include the 3 in the transfer window, plus Werner on loan times 2. He hasn't bought a 6, and I don't include Archie Gray in that because from what I've seen with Gray's
24 minutes.
Gray's an 8 rather than a 6 because he's better on the ball in his passing rather than defending, and you need a great defender as a 6.
I don't know. I haven't seen it. I
thought he was a 2-3-4-5, to be honest.
Any one of that goalkeeper.
Any one of that.
Yeah. So he needs a 6.
Well, whatever. Yeah.
Half-back role.
He needs a proper pucker 6, like a Rodri, like a Paulinho. someone like that.
Let me ask you then, Lubo. Let me ask you and everybody else.
Would Calvin Phillips do a job? I mean, he's wasting his time at with
what
Ipswich. He
you
made the
said,
wrong move to go to City.
I don't think he needs a Rodri type of player there. I mean, anyone would scream for a Rodri there. Give me in there quite happily. I think he needs more of an anchorman style there because, again, tactics. You can play a DM in several different ways.
Like Eric Dyer when he wasn't stealing a living from us.
We have actually got a DM, and that is Benton Core. But he played as a sort of DM/deep line playmaker. That's what he did at Juventus. And he had a lot more time with it, and it wasn't such an anchorman job he had to do. But where we basically play with two at the back, like Mark just said, with the inverted wing backs up there in the 10s and everything else, we don't just need a normal DM or a DM that's going to be a playmaker and control the game and get forward. We need an anchorman through and through. We need Wanyama sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Dan, we've got one. We've got one in the squad. If he only opened his eyes, and for me, that's Romero because he could do the job.
Oh no, we're not doing this. We're not doing this. We're not.
When he plays once every 3 months.
No, look, we are without a 6. So if he's not going to play Gray there, and Basuma and Bentancur, don't fit the bill, then fully fit, play Danso and Van der Ven at the back, and play Romero in front. For me, that's the answer between now and the end of the season.
He is far too rash a player. He is not disciplined enough to sit in and anchor that midfield. He's just so rash.
He could do it.
I
think he is our best footballer in the club.
What?
Sav, he is our best player in the club. I'm sorry, I'm not.
He's not.
He's not had a good season. Listen, he's made a few mistakes beginning of the season. But if you look at the big picture, for me, he is the best player in our club.
Based on what, Lubo?
Based on what I've seen, based on being good enough to go and win World Cups, Copa Americas, he was the #1 defender worldwide stats the year he was in Italy. He's coming.
Sure, that's 5 years ago. That's 5 years ago.
No, but he's still been a super defender for us. Look at the way he wins the ball. He covers space. He comes away with the ball. His passing ability. Because he's made a few errors at the beginning of the season, people are writing him off, but they just forget about the rest.
No, Ian,
I'm sorry.
It's consistency. He's not consistent as a player. For a world-class player, you have to be consistent. This is why I cannot call him world-class. Because for me, a world-class player is consistent.
I didn't say he was world-class, but he is the best 6 that we've got in the club at the moment.
But he's not. You can't say a player that's never played.
Who is better? Listen, he's got all the attributes, Sav.
Let me finish. You can't say a player that's never played number 6 in his life is the best number 6 at the club. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Dan is right on this one. If there are 2 types of number 6, right? And I think this is what Dan was getting at earlier. You've got your Rodri type, right? You've got your Rodri type, who is just an exceptional footballer, dictates everything from the back. You give him the ball, he dictates the tempo of the game. Then you get your anchorman type, who is more of your Palacios, your Wanyama, somebody whose job is to win it, give it, win it, give it. Right? A Gattuso type player, and then they give it to the Pirlo or the whoever to go and do their thing. But Romero has never ever played number 6. He is rash. We have seen that he gets attracted to the ball too much. And what I mean by that is he sees the ball and it's like a kid in the playground. He sees the ball and goes, must win ball. Boom. He goes. To play number 6, you can't be diving in. To be that number 6, you've got to wait for the play to come to you and intercept. I just don't know what this is based on, Lubo. This is
we don't have a 6 at the club. We don't have one, and we don't.
Could do that better than Romero.
Bentancur is a DM.
Oh, come on. Bentancur is not a 6.
I'll promise you, he done it for 4 years at Juventus. 4 years.
We don't have a 6. Romero, you need somebody defensively to come in and sit there in a 6. or you play 3 at the back with Romero pushing into midfield.
Okay, let me put it this way then.
And that's what you do.
Square pegs.
Benton
Square
Court,
pegs.
Again, that's hang on.
Exactly.
Square peg round holes with his fan
Benton,
base.
That's
Benton
my
Court
saying. Square
played
pegs and
DM.
round holes, mate. I'm just
Benton
saying.
Court played DM for 3 to 4 years straight, but he played
don't
it as a
need to
big
be
line
a kudos.
playmaker. On that aspect, I agree with what you're saying, Ian. I think he's the most capable player we've got to play as a 6, but he hasn't got the mentality for it.
well, I think, listen, he's a World Cup winner. I don't know how people can say he doesn't have the mentality, Dan. Come on. So
Hang
what?
on.
Oh,
So
so what?
To play
So
as a
what?
6.
So everyone that's won the World Cup.
Are you,
Right,
are you telling me this? Sorry, this guy has the mentality to play well in the matches that matter.
No,
and you're
Ian,
saying that
you've missed my point.
and you're saying that stick him in front of the back 4
Ian,
for Spurs.
you've missed my point.
But
As
Ian,
a
there's a
6,
huge difference between doing well in a 7-game tournament when you are surrounded by people like Rodrigo de Paul, Angel Di Maria, sorry, I don't know why I didn't start. Lionel Messi, the greatest player on planet Earth. There's a huge difference when you're doing it over 7 games in a World Cup versus doing it week in, week out. It's sitting in front of a back 4 in the Premier League. Romero, for me, we've seen it, Lubo, time and time again, right? He's out of position. He goes running into midfield to try and win the ball. My worry is if he was sitting there as the number 6, I think he'd go wandering. I think he'd go charging about, Dan, from right to left, deeper into midfield. I don't think he's got the temperament. And
I'd like to see him. I'd like to see him against Bournemouth on Sunday in that position.
Right,
see
Ian.
how he goes.
Ian,
He's the only player. He's the only player I've known at
The following
Tottenham.
Thursday's the important game.
He's the only player I've ever known at Tottenham to be sent off, to be cheered for being sent off.
He's reckless.
I'm
Yeah, he
agreeing
is.
with you
He is.
that he's got the physical capability and he's got the skill to be a 6. I agree with that. But he has not got the mental stability to sit there as an anchor man as what we need. Being a defender and coming out of position is totally different to being an anchor man and coming out of position. Look at how he plays football. He's a ball-playing defender. He gets the ball and goes forward with it. He could not sit there as a 6 and stay there as an out-and-out anchor man.
He'd get caught out of position.
The idea of an anchor man / defensive midfielder is not to breach past the halfway line. You're supposed to be that.
Guys, I'm going to leave you for. I've got to go into an appointment. I'm going to see you in a few minutes when I'm out. Okay, but
we'll still be talking about this. Listen, you've done a Danny. You've given us today's Danny. I'm going to have a Danny award.
Romero for number 6.
You could just call this section of the show the Danny Speaks.
Danny.
No, you don't, mate. No, you don't.
I'll see you soon. I'll see you in a few minutes. Tell our guys.
I'll tell you what. I mean,
did you notice then? Did you notice he just dropped the bomb in there and then left?
Oh, for sure.
I'm just saying.
I agree
with guys. Can I just ask, right? What is it with our fans and wanting to play players out of position? All season I've heard Porro should be right wing. He's not a right winger. Yeah. You know, so-and-so should be a centre mid. So-and-so should be a left back. So-and-so should... Why not, if you want a number 6, go and buy a bloody... I know that's a strange concept at Tottenham Hotspur, but we've bought 16, 17 players under this manager. If you want a number 6, go and buy a number 6. I don't want to see Romero there.
The thing is, if we were to buy a number 6, you'd have to be under 17 years old.
Say that again.
You'd have to be under 17 years old.
For what?
That's one of the things, because we only buy kids at the moment.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah,
but can I just chuck in a point
with what Ian said? Sorry, Michael.
No, go. Just really, really quickly. Again, I want to come back to this whole, how on earth can you build your team around? I said this the other day. You can't build your defense around Romero because he's never fit, but we want to give him the most responsible position in the team.
Yeah.
Like, I agree. It doesn't make sense.
I agree. I think he's got the capability, the skill, and he's got the physical player capability to play as a 6.
Yeah.
A 6 in some ways would suit him very much to how he could play football. He just has not got the mentality for a 6.
I was going to say,
He would not be able to sit there as an anchor man. He just would not be able to do it. It is not his mentality of football. Now, I'm not saying he hasn't got a good mentality for football. He's a bloody good defender. But as an anchor man, he just would not be able to sit there as an anchor man and do his job.
Great.
And I'm not being funny.
I just don't think he could.
And I'm not being funny, but if he was a number 6, don't you think Argentina would have worked it out? If they actually play with a 6, I don't know what Argentina play.
They got better options. They got better.
No. But if he was going to be a number 6, don't you think Argentina would have thought? Oh,
no.
Hello.
No. When they,
you know what I mean? So obviously he's not a 6.
No. When they've got a choice of 5 players to play there, they're not even going to look at him as a 6 when they've got him as a centre back.
Exactly.
So they've already got a choice.
Can I just say something?
So why should we do it?
There are people in the chat complaining, right, when we have rows and debates. Then I get people complaining when we all agree that it's
an echo chamber.
It's an echo chamber.
Yeah.
What do people watch YouTube football shows for? Surely you want the debate. Surely you like it when it gets a little bit. That wasn't even heated, but sure, I don't understand. And people go, you know, can't you just, somebody said here, can't you just all disagree? Yeah, but that's what we're doing. But surely if we all turn around and said, should we just disagree on that? Yeah. Next subject. What would we bloody talk about? I don't understand.
Not content, is it? That's not content, is it?
And at the end of the day, it's going to be a debate because it is actually an opinion at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You can't really say for a fact he couldn't do it because we haven't seen him there. But from a high opinion, I don't think he's got the mental capability to stay there solid as a 6. It's opinion, but I think he's a very strong one, that one.
Yeah, listen, I agree. I'm not doubting that the boy can't play football. I'm not doubting that he's not good at bringing the ball out. But there's a lot, you know, I think Lubo there, for me, downplayed it. He said, a few mistakes this season. Dan, you know me. I've said this for 4 years since we've had Romero. I think he's good, and then he's bad, and then he's good, and then he's... I think he's a very inconsistent footballer. And what I would say is, let me ask you guys this, and this is for the chat as well, right? Can you name me successful teams that didn't have that type of player in it? If you go down the years, can you name me successful teams that didn't have that type of player? So, for example, if we look at the Chelsea teams with Kante, right? Or Makaleli, or Rodri, right? A Roy Keane type, a Patrick Vieira. Like, can anyone name a team that's gone on, done really good things that was this wide open in midfield and didn't have a deep line playmaker, stroke, anchorman? Can anyone in the chat? Anyone here?
Well, there isn't any, is there? No, but I was going to say there is none because if you're not, they always say, was it goals win you games, defenses win you leagues?
Exactly that.
You know what I mean?
And it's true.
That saying has been about for years and years.
Yeah.
Goals win you games, defenses win you leagues. If you're not solid at the back, you've got no hope.
Bayern Munich have always had a solid centre DM. AC Milan always had a solid anchor man. Inter Milan always had it. Juventus used to play with 2 of them there at times. I can't think of even when Leicester done it, they had Kante sitting there.
Yeah.
Even when we came that close, we had Wanyama. Yeah. Even when we came close, we had Wanyama there.
And Ndombele.
Yeah. Guys, you've got to be solid in midfield. For me, I just feel like it's a basic of football. I don't feel like this is groundbreaking. And when people say, "Oh, you think you know more than the manager," it's not that. It's you look at any top team. Look at Arsenal's midfield last night. They've got Partey and Rice, right? 2 athletes, both good defensively. Both good in the tackle, both good with the ball. That is why Arsenal are bloody good defensively, right? Yeah, all right, we could talk about them going forward, whatever, but them defensively are solid. Look at Man City for years with Fernandinho, now with Rodri. When you've got that player, when you've got that system set up, teams know they can't break on you as easy. When teams break on us, they're running through. It is like I saw this picture the other day. I'm sure some of you've seen it, where it's like Moses is just standing there going, please enter the Spurs midfield. Like it's just like he's parting the sea, and everyone's just running through us.
How many games have we seen this season where one of the opposition will pick the ball up, probably in their half, by some way, 10, 15 yards, and they got 40 yards in front of them to run into, and suddenly they're bearing down on our back 2 or 4, whatever it is. Well, allegedly a back 4, but normally 2.
And the way it comes over, a DM would be the perfect man there.
Exactly.
It just it's common sense to me.
Right. Now, just because you've got a solid defence, it doesn't mean you can't be good going the other way as well. I mean, I know I keep bringing his name up. You look at when Poch was manager. We conceded the least goals we have for bloody years, and we scored probably near the most as well. You know what I mean? Because we were solid at the back and we were great going forward.
I can't think... I mean, maybe someone can prove me wrong here, but I cannot think of one solid team that I have seen over time not have a good defensive midfielder.
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think. You look.
Real Madrid have usually had someone there. Barcelona always had someone there. Atletico Madrid have always had a solid DM there.
You look at the Liverpool team that beat Man City to the title that year. They had Fabinho and Henderson both doing these jobs of breaking up play, defending, tackling, sitting in. I'm struggling to find any team.
Even the greatest teams, even the greatest teams you could think of, like your Man City a few years ago, or your prime Barcelonas or your prime Real Madrids, they've got these fantastic attacking players that can do wonders with the football, but there's always a couple of donkeys in the middle. There's always a couple of donkeys that are like protect the back line. You know, they're not the sexy names. They're not the, the flair players, but they're there to do a job, and they are just as vital as Messi is at the other end, or Ronaldo, or who insert names. They're just as vital.
Yeah. Just quickly, Jay Ashraf, when you're saying that Savva, he is capable of being consistent, considering he was voted defender of the season in Italy, sure, but for the 4 years since then, I've not seen consistency. This is, you can tell me someone's capable of it, but I think there's been spells for Tottenham where Romero looks brilliant. And then there's spells with Tottenham where I go, God, Romero looks awful. And the problem is, Jay, right, is throughout his time at Spurs, I've heard these excuses, guys. First of all, it was, oh my God, look how good, when he joined, look how good Romero is. Look how good he is. He sorted out that defence. He's brilliant. Then the next season when he didn't play well, playing with the same centre-backs that he played with before, by the way, the likes of Davis and Dyer, right? It was, but he's not playing well because he's playing with Davis and Dyer. Well, hang on. The year before, he was playing with Davis and Dyer. Then last season he had a really good spell and then he didn't. And it was, he's brilliant. Look what happens when you put a good player like Van de Ven next to him. Then when he wasn't playing well, it was, but it's the tactics. For me, top defenders don't have this many excuses made about them. If top defenders for me are stand up and they're counted, it doesn't, tactics will expose people, but a top defender will stand up and be counted and look head and shoulders above everyone else. And Romero, for me, more often than not, doesn't look head and shoulders above everyone else. He looks very average. I'm sorry. I don't know if that's hard, but
it's his consistency. And the reason he gets, I think, judged a bit harshly at times and at other times very fairly is because he is a World Cup winner.
Yeah.
And because he is meant to be a world-class player, so a lot of people say. So if I'm looking at a player who's meant to be a world-class player and a World Cup winner, I'm going to judge him a lot harder than I am Eric Dyer sitting there or Van de Ven sitting there or someone else. When you're looking at someone who is meant to be this great player, when he plays crap, he's going to get significantly more stick than an average player who you really don't expect to even play at those standards. I mean, I don't know.
And you've got to remember,
but that's how I see it.
Yeah, you got to remember, there's not that long ago that was it 100 million was being talked about for Romero?
Yep.
Mhm.
If Real Madrid wanted him, you know, it's the way he's been built up. Is he the best defender I've ever seen? Definitely not. Definitely
I
not.
think put him in a
He's
different
good,
team.
but he's nowhere near. He's nowhere near the top defenders that we could all name.
I think he's capable of a lot better than what we see of him. And I think you do put him in a better team, you will see significantly better and probably more consistency off him. Because in his defence on this side, since he has been here, he has not really had a solid back four to go with. We've got a better back four than we have done. But now the problem we've got is the bloody manager who just wouldn't have a clue how to set up a defence come love nor money. So on
The
that
trouble is,
but he's not consistent. I just don't think his mentality is with Spurs anymore. Basically,
no, that definitely not. But the trouble is with us at the moment is that the defence we got now, Conte would have killed for that.
Oh, for sure.
Would have killed for it, but it's too late now. He's gone. You know.
Do you know the funny thing is, right, is and this is why I always find it funny. I'd love to know what everyone in the chat thinks. When people use the argument of he's a World Cup winner, so does that mean we have to apply that same theory to every single player that's won the World Cup? So, for example, if I turn around now and went, oh, what a top player. I guarantee if I did that, so many Spurs fans saying to me, he's shit. He's not very good. Oh, are we back? Have I lost everyone?
No, I can sort it. Yeah. Is that your end or mine? Or
Yeah,
is it everybody?
it might have been my end. I think it might have been my end, mate. Apologies. Let me start that again. What I was saying was, if you apply that theory that they've won the World Cup, okay, cool. Well, what about when people talk about Fernandes in midfield for Chelsea? Look how much shit he gets. If I'm not wrong, wasn't he in midfield and won the World Cup for Argentina as well? Right? Yeah. If I turn around and said, all of those Argentina players that won the World Cup, we talk about them the way we do about Romero, people would not have it. If I said Emi Martinez, superb. Oh, no, he does this, he does that. This is where I think that debate gets lost. Mustafi, Mertesacker, these guys won a World Cup. They weren't great. They were good players, right? Yeah. They did a job, but they weren't great players. Look at players that have won the Champions League down the years. Like Steve Finham won a Champions League for Liverpool. Do you remember Traore, who played left back for Liverpool in that?
Yeah.
Right? He wasn't very good. But do you know what? Sometimes when you're part of the greater sum, right?
It is. It's collective, isn't it? It's a collective.
Yeah. So I can't just listen. I'm not knocking and winning the World Cup. God, it must be the greatest feeling in football. I'm not knocking it. But how long can we live on this? Well, it doesn't matter what he does. He's a World Cup winner. Well, yeah, but what does it really mean? Like, what does it mean if you come back to your club and make mistake after mistake after mistake?
Means nothing. Means nothing, really. You've won a
World Cup. Winning the World Cup means that you were just. It just means you were part of a collective that won it. It doesn't make you a fantastic player.
Werner has won leagues and Champions Leagues.
Well, exactly.
Right.
There we go. There we are.
Well, but this is what you get, right? I knew as soon as I said about Romero, I knew I'd get one person that say, but he's won a World Cup. Let's be fair. That Argentina team, let's say
that Argentina team was stacked.
Lionel Messi was the icing on a very hard-working Argentina team, and Lionel Messi.
He's not too bad, is he?
Yeah, he's all right. He's all right. I know he wouldn't make one of Danny's teams, but he's not a bad footballer. That Lionel Messi. So we've got a pinch of salt. Lo Celso won a World Cup. Yeah, I don't remember him playing loads, but hang on, did he play?
Again, another player that only showed up part-time for Tottenham, but when Argentina come calling, he was fit and ready to go,
Yeah, absolutely. So look, I get it. Look, for me, I'll move on from the Romero in the number 6 debate. I just think whatever we talk about in the number 6, the most worrying thing for me in all of this is no matter who Corey thinks should play there, or Mark, or Dan, or me, or you lot in the chat, the most worrying thing is that the manager doesn't think anybody should play there. Isn't that the more worrying thing, guys, to round off this conversation?
Well, the brilliant thing is Vicario will probably end up playing that role with this manager.
Sweep a keeper out in defence. Let's have it.
Oh, don't. Yeah, he was. Yeah, I thought he was. Yeah, Lo Celso wasn't at the World Cup, was he? I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
he was. He wasn't out one World Cup because he tore his cruciate ligament or something, didn't he, for that World Cup?
I mean, he is made of biscuits. He reminds me of, I don't know if you guys remember this.
The Argentinian Darren Anderton.
I don't remember. I don't know if this is still a thing in the supermarkets. You used to get the bag of broken biscuits. Does anyone remember them?
When your mum would cheap out, not get you the proper jacket.
Yeah.
You asked me if I remember broken biscuits.
And I'd be like, what's that? Oh, it's just loads of different broken biscuits.
Yeah.
Broken biscuits?
It was a tin that sort of rattled.
Yeah.
We'll have the debate in a minute. Kit Kat,
with what you're saying about players as well. Hugo Lloris, he won a World Cup, and like hell was he a world-class keeper. For me, he was never a world-class keeper.
Well, he wasn't in his day.
No, he was not.
In his prime,
he was good. No chance. Never a world-class keeper. He doesn't.
We'll get into this in 1 second. I'll do some super chats, Dan, because I've got a feeling that could be another one that rumbles. And apologies for anybody that doesn't want us to debate. I mean, I thought that was the whole point. Big up to a user who has said, I worry that Ange is naive, stroke stubborn, both, overplays players, plays out of position, refuses to change, not let the players fight for positions, not reward the hard workers. I wouldn't disagree with that.
No,
it's spot on.
And then we've got people like Lubo that want to play more players out of position. Let's play everybody out. Let's play the out of position game. Big up to you, a user who's come back in very generous and said, shove Romero in number 6 at Real Madrid. Adios. Love it. Big up to you. And he's come back in again and said, Romero uses Spurs to springboard into Argentina. And look, it is terrible that he's always suddenly fit when Argentina want to play, but we've done that subject to death. So big up to you.
Is this circumstance? Or is it just bad luck? Or is it, you know what I mean? Is it coincidence?
Let me finish this off. Big up to you, user. Thank you so much for the super chats. Guys, what I would say is there's 312 of you in here and 112 likes. I don't know what's happened in the last few weeks that people have just stopped hitting the like button. People have stopped subscribing, hitting the like button. I'm speaking to other YouTubers across other clubs that are saying people are just not hitting the like button. Can I please get 50 to 60 of you right now? Just smash that like button, show a bit of love. And honestly, you have no idea how much it helps YouTubers. Guys, so tomorrow night, actually, no, sorry, before we get to that, Hugo Lloris, I'm with Dan on this one, Mark. I think he was a very good goalkeeper in his peak. I think that he was lacking 2 or 3 certain attributes for me to be a world-class keeper. I don't think he was dominant enough in his box. I don't think that he came out and went, that's me. Second of all, I think he was, for a modern goalkeeper, he was really poor with his feet. And third, I think there was too many shots that went in where I thought, oh, hang on, I think you should have got down a bit quicker. That's only me. What do you guys think?
I would have. Now, there's no doubt about it that Hugo Lloris earned us more points than he cost us. No doubt in my mind whatsoever. Because he didn't cost us that many points.
I agree.
He did not cost us that many points, but the worst thing about him was his distribution. He had like 2 left feet or 2 right feet, whatever.
He wasn't solid on dead ball situations.
No. But he definitely, Hugo Lloris, he's not the best keeper I've seen at Tottenham. but he's certainly not the worst.
Right. So he's definitely not world class.
He was all right.
You've just said he's not world class, whereas a second ago you said he was world class.
Oh God.
Oh God, it's
he was a very good goalkeeper, but he was not world class. For me,
no. He's not quite in that.
If he was world class, then Manuel Neuer is a god.
Yeah.
So if he's God, what does that
I
make
never
him?
said he was world class. I never said he was a world class keeper, but he was very good for Tottenham.
You did. You just said it a minute ago. You did.
Did I?
That's why it started. Yeah. Yes, you did.
Oh, well, I retract. No, I never said that, did I?
Yes.
All right.
You did.
Well, I retract that statement. I retract that statement.
So much. I mean, look, I just think, it does go to show that just to win, just because you won something doesn't make you this great player. But look, I want to move on. As Lubo's here, we're not going back to the Romero thing. I want to move on to tomorrow night's game. It is a big game. I think the general consensus is that we should be going through without many problems. However, I do believe that there's a general consensus among Spurs fans that when Tottenham play, anything is possible. You don't take anything off the table. We've all been guilty of saying, oh, that's a banker, and then completely looking stupid and having egg on our face. But guys, we're going there tomorrow. Possibly Van der Ven, Romero, and Solanke all in the squad. How many of those guys would you lot play if they're all in the squad? Do you all go with that theory that, well, if they're in the squad, they're fit enough to play? Or do you feel that this is about, well, we should be beating Alkmaar anyway, let's slowly manage their minutes? Or will Ange do an Ange special and just go Van der Ven, Romero, boom, straight back in together?
So it's going to be Chelsea again then, is that what you're saying?
But
they're on for about 40 minutes and then see you later.
I'd like to think he's learned, but you never know.
If he goes and chucks Romero and Van der Ven in straight away, he needs shooting. Simple as that. And that's all there is to it. No ifs, no buts, no nothing else. I think he should put out the strongest possible team he can. Obviously, players that ain't fully fit, leave them out and that, to try and dominate and get as many goals as we can at AZ. Try and do them a 3-0, 3-1 or 2. Either way, win that game solid. Again, like we said yesterday, he gets a yellow card or 2. That's only for the next game they're out. And we've got that advantage being home in the next game. So I think this is the one he goes all guns blazing with everyone who's fit for the position. If he goes and puts Van der Ven and Romero straight in there, then the bloke's obviously showing he's thicker than a 2x4, basically. Because then he definitely hasn't learned what he did at Chelsea. Because it is actually the manager's fault that we have been without 2 centre-backs, as far as I'm concerned.
So, Dan, in your opinion, Dan, which 2 centre-backs start tomorrow night for you?
Well, Danzo goes straight in there. For experience, if Davis is fit, I could put him there. But then I don't think Archie Gray has been bad there either. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's been nothing special.
Stop listing all the options we've got. Who would you play?
I think out of the amount of games he's played lately, I'll stick Archie Gray there because he's played significantly more games and Davis is coming more out of an injury sort of thing. If Davis was fully fit, then I'd probably put Davis and Danzo there and Davis purely out of stability. But Archie Gray he's been all right there. And he's played there consistently for a good couple of months now, basically. So I'd go with Gray and Danzo.
I agree with that. I agree with that. But Ben Davis is Mr. Consistent when you need him. Like everyone else got Ben Davis.
Is he fit, Mark, for tomorrow? I thought he was out for a while. Ben Davis.
All right. Maybe
he had a hamstring issue, didn't he?
Oh, right.
I'm not sure. Another one of those, is it? We can't say that.
Put it this way. I'd certainly not put Van der Ven or Romero anywhere near the team. Maybe give him 20 minutes at the end. Just give him a little run out. Half an hour, 20 minutes. There you go. Certainly not chuck him in.
I wouldn't even do that because of how soon VDV is coming back from his injury, you know? We did that 2 months ago and look what happened.
Well, if you're never going to do that, you ain't never getting any minutes anytime. You know, you've got to give him 10 minutes or 20 minutes here or there.
They've already said he's not going to be fully fit till the end of the season.
Doesn't it depend on the state of the game tomorrow? So let's use the example of we start Danso and Gray, right? We start Danso and Gray and Van der Ven and Romero on the bench, hypothetically. I don't know if all that will be true. If you're 3-0 up with 20 minutes to go, I think it's okay, right? You can bring on one of them and slowly integrate and give them some minutes. However, if we're under the cosh and the game's 2-1 to AZ Alkmaar, and they're attacking after attack after attack, is that the game you want to bring these players back into? You're right, though, Mark. Certainly At some point, they've got to be integrated.
Yeah, exactly.
When?
Yeah. It's got, well, last up to the manager to, it's like you said, if we're 3-0 up, just chuck them on. You know, but like, if we're under the cosh, like constantly, wave after wave of attack, then no. Yeah. No, because the first thing they're going to do one sprint or one lunge, and then they're going to be missing for like 2 months again, which is what he did with Chelsea. Because let's face it, I think one of them made it to half time. One of them lasted 20 minutes, and the other one made it to half time.
Yeah, I think that has got to be, and people are going to say I'm just being biased here and just picking on Ange. I've seen managers over the years make some bad decisions. We've all made bad calls. No one gets it all right. But going and putting on 2 semi-fit defenders that have just come out of injury, your best 2 centre-backs, in a game like Chelsea, I think that has got to be one of the most stupid things I've ever seen a manager do. Now, if it was on a cup final or something, do you know what? There's just no reason to it, basically. It is his fault why we have got the 2 main centre-backs out. It was one of the most stupid things I think I've seen a manager do. And I've seen some bad stuff, but it was stupid.
I'm going to have to bring up something here because someone said about Hugo being one of the best keepers Spurs have had in a long time. I'd have to just take you back to Paul Robinson wasn't half bad. England's #1 for how many years?
Yeah, hang on. Let's go to that in a minute, though, Corey. Like we've kind of just stopped in the middle of a conversation about centre halves. We'll come to that in a minute. But look, for me, I would go Danso and Gray. I would. Yeah. Look, unless you know what we don't want is Romero or Van der Ven starts, makes a mistake, looks sloppy, and then people go, "Oh, but they just come back from injury." Well, yet a European knockout game isn't that moment, is it? An away tie in Europe isn't the moment where you go, right, let's ease them in gently. I've got a feeling one of them will start. I've got a feeling. I agree with this. Where was it? I agree with my man Ash. I think it might be Romero who forces his way in. I think he might start the game. Could be massively wrong. I think
which one of them's ahead in the sort of? Does anybody know which one's fitter than the other?
Romero.
Oh, yeah.
Van der Ven's. Well, Van der Ven's is a hammy, right? And hamstrings that's the worst injury you can get, right? For a quick player. That's the worst.
He got a tear on this one. He was from, I can only go by what I read, but he got quite a long tear on this one. Not just pulled it, he got an actual tear on it, and he was actually quite lucky that he didn't snap it. If he snaps it, that's his career. Not done, but your hamstrings are just like your back, basically. Your hamstrings are like your back. Once your back is done, it is done. You are not
never the same.
You will only fix it 90%. And then when you do your back again, you will only fix it 80, 90%. So you've now lost 20, 30%. And I think your hamstrings are basically the same. I judge them on the same sort of thing. You snap that hamstring, you will never, ever fix it 100%. Even with a multi-billion-dollar person with a laser or whatever, you will not fix that again.
I was just looking back at players that have had their careers ruined because of hamstrings. Michael Owen comes straight to mind. The guy had pace and then he picked up that one injury and it wrecked his career. Now you look at VDV, his main strength is his pace and recovery to get that tackle in, to track back, make, follow that player. Once you've done a massive injury like that 2-3 times in a row, it's only a matter of time before he has to learn to play a new style of defending. So he won't be able to play on that back foot running. He'll have to learn to play sitting just in front of the D of the defence and the halfway line. He'll have to start playing as a defender like that, like a Romero would do.
Yeah, the thing is, it's different, isn't it? Once you come back from that type of injury as well, players have to learn their body again.
Yeah.
And players have to learn what their legs are capable of doing. You know, so for example, if we take the hamstring injury with Van de Ven, he'll have to learn, right, how high up the pitch can I go? How much can I sprint back? How quick can I go before, you know, I get to full speed and it snaps? All of these different things, they start playing on the mind of the player. And the more it plays on the mind of the player, you're not concentrating 100%. So
it's the trust issue as well, isn't it? It's the trust.
Yeah,
you know,
it's a mental block.
Yeah. If you're going to start sprinting and then suddenly you think, oh crap, is my hammy going to go again? You're not going to do it, are you?
No.
You know, because for a start, it bloody hurts. You know, and you don't need that. You know, and when it's your living as well, and you're sat on the sidelines for your 15-year career, whatever you get.
I don't think it's that bad as a cess, but
well, but the thing is, I mean, look, if we're talking about Sessegnon in terms of injuries, I think the difficulty is how many hamstring injuries has he already had at this age? What is he? 23, 24?
He's going on 24, and he's had 5 in his career so far. 4 of them with us.
It's a lot of injuries on the same body part. It's a lot of injuries, and the problem is, and again, I'm not saying he's not a good defender before anyone has a go at me. Dan, you and I have talked about this loads. I really want to see what Van de Ven does as a defender without his pace. Like, you know, I want to see what he does in a traditional. For example, if we saw Van de Ven right now in Nuno's Nottingham Forest back four, where it's not expansive, the defenders don't leave their D. You know, I want to see how good is he in that environment. But at the moment, his game is very much relying upon his pace. And the more your hamstring goes, you're never coming back as quick as before. Like, I mean, consistently quick. I'm not saying you can't put those runs in, but is there a worry that he is going to turn into another, not Sessegnon ability-wise, he's miles above that, but in terms of how Sessegnon's career went of never being fit and always being the nearly man?
Well, the main thing he's there for is to basically cover us from the halfway line all the way back. If he goes, you are not going to find another defender that can do that. You'll find another defender that has got a bit of pace. But like I said yesterday, and like I've said in every show, and this is actually a compliment to the man, he is a freak. He is a freak of nature. He should be in bloody Marvel. The way that fella can run is just unreal. Strikers can't even do that. What do you think a winger would do with that pace? He's the fastest in the Premier League. He's quicker than Walker, the lot of them. And when that hamstring goes for him, has he got the capability to sit back and be an out defender? That I haven't actually seen him have to do that on a regular basis because of the style we play, basically. And the style we play, it's going to kill any centre back that has to do it anyway.
Yeah. It's going to kill a lot of players, the amount of running we do.
Just quickly, sorry. I mean, this guy, his name is Guy. Dude, mate, everything you're saying in the chat, you're just being an arse, right? When I'm talking about seeing Van de Ven, I'm talking about, can we see how good Van de Ven defends when it's not solely relied upon his pace, right? Please try to understand the nuances we're talking about, right? You've been an arse throughout the entire show. You've even been an arse when giving a super chat. You said debating players, ex-players even. Why are you watching a football show if you don't want us to talk about players versus players or managers v managers? Why are you just being, I'm going to use the word, you're being an absolute cunt. Sorry, you know, without saying the word, you're just being a dick right now, Guy. Right? But I'll tell you how you're being an arse. You're completely mocking everything that myself and the panel are talking about. You've been doing it the whole show, right? You knew exactly what we meant when we're talking about Van de Ven without the pace, right? So stop being a dick. You said you were going to go ages ago because you hated the show. You're still here. we don't need you here. I don't need you or your money. Just stop being a dick, right? Even your super chat, you were a dick. Stop it, right? You tell us, what would you like us to talk about, Guy? Please tell us. I'm getting really bored with idiots like you come in, mock the whole show. We can't debate this. You can't row about that. We can't talk about players. We can't talk about managers. We can't talk about tactics. You can't talk about signings. Yeah? What do you want us to talk about, Guy? Because everyone in the chat thinks that you're being a dick as well. So just don't be it or just join in, right? It's that simple. Sorry, Dan. Sorry, Mark. Sorry, Corey. I just get so frustrated with these people.
Fishing.
Yeah, for 2 hours looking into a camera, not speaking, you know?
Yeah, but people complain when it's an echo, and then people start complaining because it's a debate, and then people start complaining over well, what do you want? Well, there's not that much football to talk about with Spurs at the moment because there's been an eight-day gap. So the way I see it is like yesterday and sort of things today and that, even though we're closer to the game now. You also talk about other things with football as well, because there hasn't really been much that's gone on over the past 8 days. What do you actually want us to do? Now, if we all sit here and hold hands and sing Kumbaya, Angie's the man, what sort of thing is that? I mean, people watch EastEnders for a reason. Do you know?
I don't. I think it's terrible, but
it's a figure of speech. I can't stand it, but it's a figure of speech.
I don't watch none of that either.
He's just.
I would rather watch paint dry.
To me because he's.
I must watch the Jermaine Defoe documentary on Prime. I must get around to watching that.
No, I'm not triggered by one super chat. It's a build-up of all your comments, mate. You've literally had a pop at everything we've talked about. You've disagreed. Oh, God, they're talking about players. Oh, they're talking about ex-players. Oh, they're debating player v player. Oh, you tell us what you would like us to talk about, Guy, to make you happy, because you seem like a complete dick.
Come on. Why don't we talk about the NFL?
Come on the show. Come on the show and you give us a topic and we'll talk about it. Is that fair? Tell you what, everyone, whatever Guy says next, as long as it's football, we will debate it. Put it into the chat, or do you just want to completely keep being a dick? Anyway, sorry, guys. I can't stand people like that. Just go to another channel. Like it just frustrates the hell out of me. Anyway, where were we? So tomorrow night. So I would play Gray and Danso to start with. Dan, did you say the same thing?
I'd start Gray and Danso, yeah.
Yeah. Danzo's got to be in. Danzo's got to be in.
Yeah.
And depends how far along Ben Davies is. Because I like Ben Davies. He's Mr. Consistent. He's never a 3. He's never a 9.
If
he
wouldn't have been coming out of injury, I'd have had Davies. If he wouldn't have been coming out of injury, I'd have had Davies out of experience, and that is more his natural position than Archie Gray. But he is just coming out of an injury. If he is even fit, I don't even think he's fit. I don't know.
Yeah. I can't find anything online about how fit Davies is at the moment, so it would be Danso and Gray.
3 weeks, Corey.
Pardon?
When the team news came out, it was that he was out for 3 weeks, wasn't it, after the Ipswich game? So how long ago was that? Was that 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago. But then you have to think of recovery time from the injury, match sharpness, if he's still got it, because he's played pretty much every game. But it's also match fitness. Rushing players back when they're fit, but not match fit or match sharp is also a bit of a questionable act from Ange right now, the way we're playing. If I was some of these players, I would not trust Andrew with my hamstrings. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it's a tough one. And then in terms of going into the fullback area, look, tomorrow night you've got Spence, Porro, and Udogie, who are all fit now. So all of the injury nonsense can stop. They're all fit. Which two does he play, and where?
Well, if Spence doesn't start, then he should be sacked immediately.
Yeah, if Spence doesn't start, I'm not watching the match.
No. If Spence isn't in there, he should be sacked immediately for gross misconduct.
I just make Savva crease up like that. If he doesn't play, I'm not watching.
I mean,
no. I think he was sorting his dog out.
Just for a quick answer for Alex here, Mr. Box Office. How you doing, mate? Hope you're good. Lovely fella. The only reason I'm picking Archie Gray is because he's been playing there consistently for the past 2 months, and I don't think Davis is fit. If Davis was fit and he'd been playing for the past 3-4 games, I'd have Davis there over Gray because he's more natural there. But it's where he has been injured, and I don't even know if he's fit. I think Archie Gray is more the sensible one at the moment. If he's only just come out of injury and he goes and gets put there, then he's basically going and done what he did with Van der Ven and Romero.
Yeah,
is how I see it. Is how I portray it. Yeah. But that is the only reason I'd put Gray there over Davis, because I think Davis is quite a stable player.
Davis gets a lot of stick. Davis gets a lot of stick, and I always stand up for him because he's not, he's not terrible, but he's not brilliant.
Don't you think the problem with Davis, though, Davis is almost a victim of his own consistency. And what I mean by that is, let's be fair, most clubs would have got rid of Ben Davis many years ago, right? A long time ago, right? He hasn't. He's still there. And he gets called upon whenever there's injuries, whenever someone's missing, he gets called upon. He never sets the world alight because he's not that type of player. He never really does too much wrong. He's not that type of player. But he's not a sexy name. It's not a new signing. He's almost a victim of his own experience and consistency. But I'll say it again. What I do know is surely he shouldn't be at Tottenham again next year, should he? Like, surely at some point we're going to move him on and get some new blood in.
I want to see him stay and be a coach.
I don't think he's the first player we need to get rid of, though, either. I mean, if anything, you see this new player we just got, Banzo, yeah? From what I've seen over the first 4 or 5 games, I think he's quite similar to a Davis in the aspect of the mentality of the way he plays. Quite cool, quite calm, gets the job done, no piss balling about, no try with fancy stuff. When in doubt, kick it out. Old school centre back gets it done. I think he's got that sort of mentality. I think he's better than Davis, but I think he's the same sort of mental player.
No nonsense. He's in there to do a job. He does his job, right? That sort of a player.
That is what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly that. And I think Davis actually gets quite a bit of unnecessary stick.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he plays brilliant, and there has been games where he has played pretty poor, but I think in general, with the games he's played, you can always going to say you're going to get a 6.5 out of him. I don't think he's not quite one that gives you a spectacular game, but he don't really give you a poor game either. He does one or the other here and there, but in general, I think he is actually a very reliable player and a good player to have in the squad. He wouldn't be a player that I would say we have to get rid of him.
No.
Surely, when I say get rid of, I mean in terms of let's refresh, let's recycle, let's go and buy. But like, surely we
should have done that ages ago.
Sure, but the longer you keep Davis, and I'm not knocking him, it just means it's another excuse as to why we don't go out and buy a new left back or a centre back. Because what happens is, you guys know this. You get to the end of a transfer window and you go, "Oh, we haven't bought a new centre back or a left back," and people go, "Don't worry, Davis can cover there." And at some point, you've got to upgrade, haven't you? And I don't know. I'm just was advocate.
I mean, I've been Davis's biggest critic for about 4 years now.
Kick him
always trying to call him. Always trying to say, why is he there? Sell him. I've been saying it for 4 seasons, but this year he's done a pretty decent job. Not a great job, but he's filled in when needed when we've had injuries, and that is what he's done.
All the years I've been on shows, channels, I've always stuck up for Davis. And can we call him by his proper name, the Welsh Maldini?
Listen, I don't mind him. I just think again, it comes down to what do we want to be as a football club, right? You've got to answer this question. On one hand, you've got fans saying we want ambition and we want to go and buy better players. On the other hand, we're talking about, we should just keep Ben Davis again for the 11th season. For me, I think if Tottenham Hotspur are serious, go and buy a proper left back to compete with Udogie, right? And go and buy another top centre half foot, because Romero's probably going to go. And then you're going to have Danso, Dragoshin, Van der Ven, and another centre back. That, for me, if Spurs are serious, That's what you do. And then you've got Spence and Porro who can play right back. You've then got 8 defenders to cover your season at the back, right? I'm not against Ben Davies staying, but it should be being seen less and less and less. I
agree with that.
My opinion.
For me, like back in the day, it used to be 2 players for every position, didn't it? So you'd have your 2 right back, your 2 centre backs, your 2 left backs, your 2 keepers, and then cover for midfield and up front. In this day and age, it seems to be, can he play in 7 different positions apart from goalkeeper?
If we're not going to get another defender or another left back or whatever, I don't see the problem in keeping him as a squad player. We should have got rid of him 5 years ago and gone up a level. I totally agree with that. But he does cover us for what we need when we need him, and he is consistent when he does play. Nothing special, nothing great, but does the job.
If we're going to do that, then if we're going to be comfortable with that as a fan base, we can't then complain when a centre half or a left back gets a long-term injury that we've got no one, right? That's
agree.
The difference for me, right? We can't. So if next season, for example, just hypothetical, if next season Udogie was out for the entire season and Ben Davies played left back every single game, we can't then complain as a fan base, we didn't buy in as a left back because people were happy for Ben Davies to be that guy. So
I'm not happy for it. I'm saying we should be buying a left back or a centre back.
Yeah, I get you.
Or both, and he should be moved on. But if we don't buy a left back or centre back, we'd be stupid to get rid of him.
I hear you.
The thing is, we've got Phillips coming back, and you've got the other young kiddie coming back. So we've got another 2 defenders coming back from loan. You've got
he's not that guy anymore. He's not that guy anymore that you want playing week in, week out. Definitely not.
No,
he's definitely not the guy that you want to be a mainstay of your team. But he's good enough to come in, and he does a job when he comes in.
Yeah, look, I've got
like
no doubt.
Ronto, isn't it? That's exactly what it says on the tin.
Yeah, for sure. I just think that forget about Davis. I just think in general with our players, what we've been really guilty of the last 10, 15 years is we never seem to get rid of players when we need to. No. We kept Dyer for ages, right? We kept Sissoko for years and years, Aurier for years and years. Harry Winks was here forever. Skip, we just kept because people were convinced he was going to get better. Lamella was here for what, 10 seasons? Eric Lamella.
Was he?
Lucas Moura seemed to be here forever. It was like other clubs seem to get players in. They get a couple of years out of them, and if they're not as good as what they need, they move them on and buy. And we seem to keep hold of everyone. But
that's our fan base as well, Savva. The Spurs fan base in general, we're a bunch of Klingons.
I agree.
I mean, people can't let go of Son. Son is not Son anymore. We should have got rid of him 2 seasons ago when we could have still got 90 to 100 million. Like someone like Chelsea, like someone like Liverpool, like someone would, a massive club would. I'm not stating that Son has not done epic for us. He has, but he'd already reached his peak. He was already on the way down. We should have made the money for him and gone and bought someone of his.
If you want to look,
that's right.
What happens when you suggest that, Dan? And what happens when you suggest that?
If you want down for it, another one as well. Hang on a sec, Mark. Lloris, because Son is now he's got mud on his back. The way I'm saying that is, it's the same as Hugo. It's like, he was brilliant for us. He was excellent, but we should have got rid of him 2 seasons ago. And it's not fair that is actually on his back now. Yeah. Hugo was great for us. He was a good goalkeeper, but we should have got rid of him 3 seasons earlier.
Mm-hmm.
They don't deserve that. But because our fan base is such a bloody Klingon, they end up getting labelled with that "but" at the end of their career, which really ain't fair.
If you look at a club and a manager that used to do it regularly, no matter who you were in the team, look at Man United and Alex Ferguson. Every season.
Look how long he had the Apstam for, was it? He came in he was gone.
Every season, someone really unexpected when Man United were the best thing since sliced bread in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Like every season, one of their real top players would be moved on. And even the Man United fans, you'd say, hey, he's going.
No.
What is he?
when
Well,
you
why
read
is he going? But
when you read Ferguson's autobiography, yeah, I've read both of them. He talks a lot about it, and he says the reason he always wanted to move on a star player and bring in another star player was to keep momentum in the team spinning.
of course,
So it doesn't do what
Of
Man
course.
City have sort of done at the moment and gone a bit stale.
yeah,
And the other one that he states clearly is the biggest mistake he ever made in his career was getting rid of Jaap Stam.
Yeah.
yeah.
He was solid, yeah, but you know they had their falling out and he was sold on. It's like with Beckham, he was their talisman. Has one argument with Fergie, sold season.
But Ferguson stated clear as day in his autobiography, the biggest mistake he ever made in his career was getting rid of Jaap Stam. He stated it clear as day in both of them.
No, but even so, he did it. But Man United was still successful.
Yeah, because he brought in another player of that caliber.
Exactly, which is something,
and he kept it spinning, and it didn't go. It didn't go
Well, we
stale,
don't do-
basically.
But back then, United really had.
It's the
well,
same
we
as
don't do that.
apart from this season, right? I think if it wasn't for the charges that they were waiting to find out what they were, half of these older players would have been moved on. Because what Pep's always done, look at Cancelo. Yeah, the first murmurings of discontent. Don't matter how good you are. See you later. I'll let you go to a rival. I don't care. Look what he did at Barcelona. Got rid of people like Ronaldinho. Got rid of people like Ibrahimovic. Right? He got rid of people like Deco. Like, you know,
he got rid of Eto'o as well.
Exactly. Now I know we're not going to buy players of that ilk, but the thing for me is, if we were a top club, Sissoko would have been at this club for a year and a half, and we would have gone, thanks. See you later. Skip. Ollie Skip, if we were a proper club, Ollie Skip would have been gone, let's be fair, 2-3 years before we actually sold him to Leicester.
Harry Winks.
See he wasn't good enough.
Harry Winks.
Same with Harry Winks. You know, we tend to do this for a very, very long time with all players. I guarantee we'll do this with Brennan Johnson. Not now. I'm not saying he should go now, but we'll do this with Johnson. He'll be here for 6-7 years. We'll probably end up doing it with an Odebert, and Richarlison will probably end up outstanding his welcome. Sometimes you've got to keep refreshing things. You've got to keep it moving.
I'll be honest with you. I'll be honest with you. This is where the club is rotten, because that mentality comes from the top. This is why we'll never be a big club, in my opinion. Because the mentality of all that starts at the top, and we haven't got it. It's penny pinching at every level in our club.
Have we? We haven't really got
not just that one. No, with that one in particular, we're clinging on to players. Obviously, it is the club, but I think the supporters are just as bad as the club. I think the supporters, us, whatever you want me to say, us, the supporters, certain supporters, I think we are just as bad as Daniel Levy in that aspect of being Klingons. That we just can't let that player go. How many debates I had with people like 2 years back to back, like, but this one can do this with Ndombele. Oh, but he can get this. This and that. Yeah, but he's been shit for 3 years and he hasn't played. But this one can do it. We've got to give him a chance. We've got Angie and we got to give him I've just given him 5 bloody seasons and he's been crap. Get rid of him. And the same with Son in the aspect of he has been brilliant for us, but he was already on the way down and we could have got a lot of money for him. And that is what a real ruthless club does.
Exactly.
For me, football for me is not about love and kisses. If you want to get to the top, it's dog eat dog out there. Sorry, mate. I might like you. You might have been brilliant for us. You might have scored 5 million goals for us, but you ain't doing it now. Baked potato. See you later.
It's like what with Eric Dyer. United come in for 50 million and we battered that away. You know, we signed a guy for like 15, 20 mil. You're making a 30 mil profit on a guy that was slowly losing it, but at the time was touted as one of the best midfielders in the league. I would have gone, see ya.
Well, I'll tell you what, Dan's got just a magnificent point there. A magnificent point. And if we look at the two main protagonists of what you've just said there, Dan, it is Lo Celso and Ndombele, who were here for 5 years, right? Like whether or not they were on loan at any point, they were officially Tottenham Hotspur players for 5 years. And every summer, Dan, you're right. It was, well, you know what? This is the year we're going to unlock Ndombele. This is the year that Lo Celso is going to be the main man. You think between them, they've had 10 seasons at Tottenham Hotspur. And in the grand scheme of things, what on earth did Tottenham get out of Ndombele and Lo Celso for 10 seasons between them? Right?
Ndombele scored one good goal. He had one good goal on Ndombele.
Right. So this is my
point.
Him
off the back of a YouTube reel.
But this is the thing. We didn't get anything out of the two of them. But every summer, our fans were, I wouldn't sell him. I wouldn't sell him. I wouldn't sell him. I wouldn't sell. And it's like, but they're not offering anything to Tottenham Hotspur. You've seen 3 or 4 managers have failed with these players, but yet we're still sitting there going, do you know what? Like even now, I still see people go, God, I wish we still had Lo Celso. You're like, hang on. Like, isn't that revisionism at its best? Because what did Lo Celso do for Tottenham in 5 years? I'm not saying he's a terrible player. He's not a terrible footballer, but, you know, he couldn't stay fit. He was made of broken biscuits, and we had fans going, yeah, we need to keep him. We did it with, I mean, the biggest criminal one for me is Sissoko. I mean, how many years did we need to watch Sissoko in midfield to know this guy wasn't a good footballer?
He was a panic buy, though, wasn't he? He was a panic buy. He'd come in on the last day, didn't he, for 30 million.
Doesn't mean you've got to panic and keep him for the next 3-4 years, does it?
Like, well, no, there is that, yeah.
You know, it's just absolutely mad. And you think, Ndombele, by the way, Ndombele cost the club, what, £55 million, if I'm not wrong, right?
With add-ons, it went up to 69, didn't it?
Yeah, but we never got to those add-ons, right? Because he didn't achieve his things, right? So we had £55 million to pay for him. And he
250 grand a week.
He was on
he was the highest paid player as well. He was paid more than
he was on we made £55 million for him, and he was on £10 million a year. Right? So all in all, and then we paid off £5 million for him to leave. We paid his wages up, right? So all in all, Ndombele cost Tottenham Hotspur Football Club £120 million in transfer wages.
Yeah.
120 million. Now, when you suggested after 2 years, yeah, this isn't working, get rid of him. Oh, you don't know football. He's a baller. How it turned out.
And he scored one good goal in COVID, but no one was at.
And the one that got me with him was the FA Cup game where he tried off slowly.
He did score one good goal. He did score one good goal when the COVID thing was on.
But the frustration with Ndombele is, I think a lot of people could see there's a great player there, very skillful, very good on the ball, good shot. His ball control was excellent. His mentality was absolute dog crap, and it was one of those players. He's got it, or he had it. He had everything in the palm of his hand. And he just did not have the mentality for it. He just did not care. He just didn't have it for the game as such.
Even when he went off and left the league, you know, he went off to Turkey and couldn't cut it there.
You know? Do you know the thing that got me with Ndombele is that when we signed him, I put his name into YouTube and something come up, and the first thing that I saw on there, he was criticised for being lazy, not caring, and I thought, yeah, right. Now, if I could find that out within 20 seconds of typing something in YouTube, surely the recruitment team could have seen this and sort of dug a bit deeper. Was this really the case or not? I mean, if I knew it, basically just looking at something on YouTube, then surely the club knew it. I mean, you got to question the recruitment team for signing him in the first place. You know?
Of course. By the way, like, got people now saying, like, the Celso is better than what we have now, sadly. But again, based on what? We had 5 years of evidence of Lo Celso.
You didn't see it.
Can you
again,
imagine, Can you imagine Lo Celso with his injuries playing in this system?
He'd be gone.
We'd never see him fit.
I'll be honest, he was like John Cena. You couldn't see him.
Oh, we see Cena now.
I don't know.
Well, no, I'm just saying, but Lo Celso, you never saw him. You just couldn't see him.
Like, with Lo Celso, I swear I have a theory on this whole Argentinian players just want to play for their country, not for their clubs and get paid. Every player we seem to have, Lo Celso, Lamela, Romero, they're always injured, but when Argentina come calling, they're ballers. And then we see them for 2 games, they're injured again for another 3 months. and it's just this whole situation with their
I've been saying this for the last 4 years. I've been saying this for the last 3 or 4 years.
Their so-called injury record
for Argentina.
The so-called
because
injury
the Celso
record.
ain't bad. The Celso is not a bad player. I think he's quite a good player, but he just seems to have weak bit
never fit though, right?
Exactly. And
he's not a bad player,
like you said. No, not at all. But if he played Angeball, like you said, you might as well get a wheelchair out for the fella because he ain't going to be walking again for a very long time.
Exactly. I mean, look at the players that are dropping like flies this season. We think that Ange could have got. I mean, the biggest thing was last summer. Do you remember, Dan? That last summer it was, Ndombele is going to look special under this manager, and then the manager never played him and sent him straight out on loan. Like even Ange could see, yeah, this guy ain't cutting it. Like this guy can't run, and it's not that he can't. He don't want to. Like, can we be honest?
Exactly.
He doesn't want to. Does he?
Dom lazy, more like it.
Yeah, it was his mentality. He got fat. He got lazy. He just didn't care. But he had the capability. So
would you if you?
It was obviously there.
So would you on 250 grand a week?
No, I wouldn't.
Well,
I would not.
Wait, you say 250 grand a week, but in this country, you take the tax away, they're probably picking up about 175 grand.
Oh,
no,
my heart
bleeds.
My heart bleeds.
It's 125 because they pay 50%
right.
tax.
But money or not, guys, it's all mentality. You know, if you look at all of these Man City players that have won everything for the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, all earning 300-400 grand a week, nothing stopped them. Like they ran through brick walls for Pep Guardiola.
Exactly.
Like they ran through brick walls. So we could turn around and go, well, I wouldn't do anything if I was on that money. But these players have got pride. These players are winners. These people realize we can be the best players in the world, but we've still got to work hard. And that's what Pep got out of them. And so for me, I find it quite embarrassing when you see someone with the God-given talent that Ndombele's got. And he's a brilliant YouTube player, isn't he? He's a brilliant five-a-side player. But if you do not want to put the application in, unfortunately, that takes you from a great player to an absolute shit player. And there are far too many that have gone down that road, unfortunately. And he will go down as, for me, pound for pound, one of the worst signings in Premier League history.
The worst.
He's got to. He's got to.
Oh, I don't know. That player that joined Southampton that said he was Weah's nephew.
But that player that joined Southampton didn't cost 120 million over 5 years.
True.
Yeah.
I mean, on an honest question then, for everyone on here and the chat, name me a worse transfer since it has been the Premier League than Ndombele.
I mean, there's been some shit transfers, but I just
think of course there is.
Danny Drinkwater to Chelsea. Danny Drinkwater to Chelsea.
Yeah, but
cost 120 million.
Yeah, exactly. I was just about to say that.
How quick do we think they moved Danny Drinkwater on?
They didn't know. They kept him just sitting around, didn't they, for 5 years? Now the guy's a builder. So
you've got to.
It's true.
You've got to factor in the amount of money it costs as well, the transfer fee.
Of course.
You know,
35 million, but you're still paying his 80 to 90 grand a week wages. It's still going to amount to nearly 80, 90 million complete, isn't it? The guy still costs Chelsea a hefty chunk of money with wages.
Sure, but isn't the difference with that? If we're going to look at Danny Drinkwater, isn't the difference that he kind of went to Chelsea? He didn't go there as the main man. He didn't go there as their big money signing. He went there off of a very good couple of years for Leicester, and he went there and he was a bit part player. Ndombele was bought off the back of a Champions League final as the main man. So, you know, and you've got to look at the clubs as well. Chelsea can afford to go, whatever. But listen, I'm not saying it was a great signing, Danny Drinkwater. For me, the moment Danny Drinkwater went there, I went, you've ruined your career. Because he was never going to start week in, week out for Chelsea. You know?
Especially with Makaleli in front.
What some have said here, like Anthony, you can put that on there.
Yep.
But I think he's more rescue. There's going to be more chance
his career
rescue him. Well, he's doing very well where he's gone now, isn't he?
I mean, don't see that Anthony's got the attitude.
Yeah.
I think he wants to play. Anthony wants to play. Anthony wants to try hard. He works hard. This is the difference. You've got to factor that in with Ndombele, that he just didn't give a shit. Like, he didn't care.
Here's our closest one. 12-11, next one down.
Red broth? No.
No. That one.
That one.
Yeah, he's definitely out there.
Mr. 13 goals in one season, yeah?
I'd say the only reason Ndombele does him is because I think Ndombele cost us that bit more money.
Yeah.
And at least Richarlison
I'm waiting for one name to come up now for another striker that Tottenham had for a while when he was Dutch. I'm waiting for that one to come up when he was playing out position. Yeah, when he was playing out position.
Yeah, but I think we're getting
Jansen cost peanuts.
Yeah, but we're getting into the realms here of we're changing conversation. It's not just about who was a bad player that was signed. We're talking about everything. The cost, the length of time they were there, the transfer fee, their application. Unfortunately, Vincent Janssen just wasn't good enough. But what you would say is when Vincent Janssen played, I didn't ever look at him and think he doesn't want to be here. He just wasn't quite good enough. And
we didn't spend 60 million on him though either.
No, of course we didn't. Of course we didn't.
I mean, there had been some terrible transfers. I mean, and people have said some really good ones here, like Dimiera. That wasn't a good one. That went up tits up.
Who's that?
Dimiera.
Who?
Dimiera. Is that how you say his name?
Di Maria.
The one who went Man U. Di Maria. That's it.
Di Maria.
Oh, hang on. I can't have that in the Di Maria's class. Di Maria.
Yeah, but when he went to Man U, that was shocking what he did at Man U. That was terrible.
It's because of the manager at the time as well. He didn't want him there.
Yeah.
He was played.
And then Lukaku at Chelsea twice, but he's done it everywhere else he's been. There is players that Marshall was an absolute shambles of a signing.
Stimcom.
But either way, the point I'm making is Ndombele is up there with the worst of the worst signings.
I agree. Whichever way we look at it, he's up there.
He's not the worst. He's in the top 5. Put it that way. Yeah. And for the pound for pound and this and that, and if you want to put it like we argue with goal ratio and whatever else, if you go by money ratio, game ratio, he's up there with the very best of being the worst.
Yeah. Oh,
and that's how I see it.
For sure.
Easily.
You know, listen, there are signings that have been bad and clubs move them on. For that, I respect clubs that do that. I respect clubs that can turn around and go, you know what? We've made a mistake. All right, we gave them year 1. We've tried to get them back in year 2 to see if it works. It's not worked. See you later. Right? Yeah. Clubs move players on. As we've already talked about, Spurs just seem to stockpile players. We just seem to keep these. You know, some of these players we're seeing now that we're saying aren't good enough will be here in 4 years. You just know it. It's what we do as a football club.
Well,
and then we get them to the point. We get them to the point where we don't make money off them. Look at all the players we sold in the window, right? All the whether they went on loan or they sold. Look at all the people, right? Eric Dyer. Eric Dyer ended up going on a free to Bayern Munich, or 5 million, whatever it was, right? Look at Højbjerg. He's got a deal in principle, isn't it, for something like £12 million to join Marseille permanently. Right?
It was FFP, wasn't it? That's why we never sold them. It was to do with their accounts. Yeah, they would have broke the rules if they paid us.
Davinson Sanchez went for about £11 million, right? If you look at all of these players, none of them we actually sell at a time where you can get money for them. We let their contracts go down and down. And Eriksen, Christian Eriksen was one of the best playmakers in Europe, and we ended up selling him for what? 14 million? Something like that, because we let it go down and down, even though he told the club over and over again, I'm not signing a new contract.
Yeah.
Like, it's what we do. So for me, like it's like when people say, oh, no, I keep him. We don't let anyone go.
Oh, Brian Gill.
You know, like Romero, for example, people are going, oh, if a 70, 80 million bid came in, I wouldn't let him go. I'm all over that. You can get a player as good as Romero for half that money. You've made 40 million. It just seems.
Well, you take that money from Romero and you go and throw it at someone like Tamori or Guehi, don't you?
Absolutely. I'd swap Tamori for Romero all day, every day, and he'd probably cost about 20 million.
Yeah, and then you'd use the other 60 million go and get Guehi, wouldn't you? So you'd have 2 English centre backs.
the question is now of what could we actually get for Romero? Because what another club would be able to now throw at us, and this is where I think we're in a bit of a predicament, is, well, he's been injury prone. We know he's a World Cup winner. We know he can play very good football. But he's been injury prone for 3 seasons now at Spurs. He hasn't really performed to his standards at Spurs. But then he has got the backup of playing for Spurs because of how crap the manager has been defensive-wise and that. And there is going to be that side of him where I think if he wants to go, Levy has not got the power to stop him going, because I think he's got the personality to take Levy up by the throat and say, you're taking me out, I'm going to do ya. And no club is going to offer us 100 million because they've got enough on him as such. Oh, well, but what about the injuries? What about this? What about that? And then when we argue about that, and then Romero steps in and says, you better get me out of here, otherwise I'm going to meet you in your back garden or something to Levy, the price is going to go down again. It's going to be a very dangerous one, that one, I think. I think if we get an offer of 40, 50 million for him, you got to take it up straight away, because it could go significantly down from there.
I believe.
But then you've also got...
Is it this summer when Romero's got 2 years left?
His contract expires in 27, so his contract expires 2 years from now. Kind of.
Yeah. Well, in the summer he's got 2 years left. The club need to, right? In the summer, when he's coming up to 2 years left, offer him a new contract. If he says no, I'm not signing it, sell him.
Yeah,
that's the optimum time of selling him.
Would you give him a new contract?
Sorry?
Would you give him a new contract though, considering how little he plays?
Well, they got to offer him. Well, they got to offer him one, and if he says no, sell him.
They haven't got to offer him nothing.
They don't have to.
I'll sell him
nothing.
Well,
at the end of the day,
I'm on about for recouping money in if we do sell him. If you're
I understand what you mean. Yeah, I understand what you mean.
Yeah, that's what I was on about. Not let him run down to like 1 year, 6 months, then he goes for nothing.
Yeah. No, you're right there. But then if we do keep him and he carries on playing like this and we don't even see 50% of games out of him, by the time we do sell him, we'll get tuppence money for him.
Well, there we go.
Another thing that you've got to look at.
This is why the summer is really important with Romero. You sit him down, he's got 2 years left on his contract in the summer, and you say, right, are you going to sign a new contract? And if he says no, then you make him available to Real Madrid, wherever he wants to go. And you get your 50, 60, 70 million for him, and you say, see you later. Off you go.
But this summer transfer window is the one. It's got
to be the one.
I was being sarcastic, mate. I've heard this consistently for about 9 years now.
Well, it is as far as Romero goes. It is as far as Romero goes. Because if he's not going to sign a new contract, off you go. See you later.
There's not many teams in Europe that can really afford to buy Romero out right now. Because you look across the league, the Premier League. No. Listen, just at least you've got to look at the league subjectively as well. How much money are they bringing in these top clubs in these other divisions? They're not bringing in half as much as revenue as what the Premier League does.
Nonsense.
No. It's true because the Premier League.
It's not because if Real Madrid wants someone, Real Madrid
and Barcelona and Bayern Munich are far the few teams that outside that bubble that always competitive in winning their leagues and getting the prize money for it. Competitively in Europe, getting the prize money.
Real Madrid aren't what they were.
And Real Madrid are backed by the bloody Spanish royal family.
Yes, but they can't.
If they want the player, they will get him.
Yeah, but it has to be in a different way now. They can't just slam that money up front anymore. They haven't got it. Look at their stadium. They can't just slam down 200 million. They now have to do it in set ways as well. Whereas Real Madrid used to literally have the power to go, right, 100 million. There you go. No ifs, buts, maybes. No free money. No over a year, whatever. They haven't got quite that power anymore because the Spanish league has gone downhill big time. Money.
They still got the pull. Because I believe Romero wants to go to Real Madrid.
Yeah, I'm not saying otherwise, but that league has lost a lot of money now that Ronaldo and Messi ain't in it. That league has lost a lot of money. Yeah. Look at his TV rights and everything and that. The Spanish league has gone down significantly money-wise. But
Barcelona have sold a lot of their TV rights.
That's what I'm saying. They had to because they was up shit street. And Real Madrid are backed by the government there because Barcelona, and even though Barcelona ain't technically Spain, But Barcelona and Real Madrid are the two biggest attracting things in Spain, apart from Ibiza, what actually brings money into the country, let alone the club. And they just haven't got the power that they had with that. But they've still got the pulling power as a team and everything. And all
No,
that.
I was in Barcelona. I was in Barcelona a few years ago. And I didn't realise this, but the TV deals in Spain were completely different. Like Barcelona and Real Madrid negotiate their own.
They're different, They're different everywhere. Yeah. But the point
they had about 90% of the money. 90% of television money is split between Real Madrid and Barcelona.
Yeah. Other countries, other leagues haven't got the same money that the Premier League has got.
No, definitely
There's
not.
big clubs out there that can do it, but it's only a club or two, and they haven't got the revenue that they did have. But then who are we going to sell Romero to?
There's
when he blatantly stands there and refuses to play.
I believe he'll end up in Madrid.
We're still on Romero.
No, we've kind of come full circle. Kind of come full circle. The difference is, right, is I've been listening. So I've been listening while sorting out the puppy. I've been listening, but the difference is deals nowadays, when we talk about other leagues not having money, deals are no longer, like Dad said, you don't slap down the majority of the money, right? So if anyone's going to buy Christian Romero, for example, for let's say 60 million, they're not going to go, here's 60 in one go. They're going to go,
no,
I don't know, here's 25 million, and there'll be 3 more installments of the rest of the money over the next 3 years, or whatever it may be.
It's normally 5 years, isn't it? It's normally 5 years.
For me, by the way, just on off topic, and we are going to end the show in 6 minutes. So well done, Lubo, for coming at the end. What I would say is, did anyone watch Atletico versus Real Madrid last night?
No.
No.
I was watching you on Big Up, Sav.
Jimenez of Atletico Madrid is what people talk about for Romero. Jimenez of Atletico Madrid is everything I hear about Romero, but actually does it on the pitch. Just an outstanding world-class defender that defends. First and foremost, defends. That's the sort of player that we need to find before they find their way to Atletico Madrid's. That's what we should be scouting across world football. Players like that. That's just my opinion. I want people in the chat, would you sell Romero this summer or not? Because Dan makes a good point. If you don't sell him this summer, he's then got 1 year left the summer after. And what's he worth then? 30? 25?
I'd get rid of him.
I'd sell him in the summer. I'd sit him down and offer him an extension to his contract or offer him a new contract. Are you going to sign it? No. Right. See you later. Goodbye.
I wouldn't even do that, mate. I'd just sell him. End off. No new contract. No nothing. Just sell him.
Well, all right.
But then you give him a new contract. He wants more money for us to find out the club to pay him. Just sell him.
If we don't get rid of him in the summer, when he's got 2 years left, in the winter he's going to have 18 months left, and he's going to be worth a downside less. The following summer he's going to be worth hardly anything because he's only got a year left. You know, it's going to be coming down to the stage of
he's on 165. He's on 165 grand a week, which is 8.8 million, right? Roughly 8.8 million a year. For him to sign a new contract, he's not going to sign again on 165 grand a week. He's going to go above the 200, 250 grand mark. Now, all of a sudden, all of this wages, that's wages that you could be spending elsewhere, in my opinion. I don't think he's that good that should be the guy who breaks your player salary for me. I don't think he's that world superstar that you go, we must keep. I think you can get other defenders who do just as good a job for half the price, but might not have a sexy name.
I'd go and sell him. If I got a 40 million, 45 million bid for him, I'd take it purely because of how inconsistent he's been and his injury issues, because that is what teams are going to play on. And then what I would try the cheekiest thing possible, depending on where Nottingham Forest finish, and I'd go and slam 40, 50 million on the table for Milenkovic all day long. I would have him over Romero every day of the bloody week.
I'd take him and Murillo, mate. I'd take both of them. I'd take Nottingham Forest back too. But the problem you've got now is I think bigger fish are going to want to come in for these players.
Yeah.
Dan, you said it. I agreed with you when you said it at the time. Players like Milenkovic, who were going for £12 million. Where are our scouts when those deals are happening?
We're not doing the scouting anymore. We're going through data analytics, not doing the old.
Yeah, but everyone does it like that basically these days. Yeah. That is the way it's done. But I spotted this player 5 years ago at Fiorentina. I started doing YouTube. I'm coming up for 2 years now, and the first time I ever come on and had a debate with Savva about Aston Villa, everything else, it then came into it what we was just talking about in general. Who was the defender I brought up that we need to get that I want at this club? Milenkovic. And then, lo and behold, another season and a half later, he goes and gets sold for 12.5 million.
And that's a steal for a player of his quality as well.
But personally, for me, he's more of a stable defender than Romero. My personal opinion. I think he is a better defender.
You got to look at where Brighton get their players from. They'll buy them in for like 1 or 2 million euros. And the next thing, they're worth 50, 60.
Brighton go out and take shots on guys that are diamonds in the rough or been overlooked by clubs.
Well,
why are we doing this? I mean, there weren't too many people in the world of football knew about Caicedo, you know. He comes into Brighton, plays 2.5, nearly 3 seasons, 120 million to Chelsea. Thank you. You know, that's what Brighton are thinking.
Where do these other clubs, and we are going to end the show just in 1 minute, guys. I've got some bits to do. These other clubs, like Zabanyi was bought for like £16 million to Bournemouth, right? You know, someone said that Jimenez went to Atletico Madrid for 850k. How much did Forest pay combined? Was it 20 million for Murillo and Milenkovic combined? How
20, are we 25.
Scouting these types of footballers? Instead, we go. Yeah. Instead, we had to spend the whole summer trying to get Mickey Van. Do you remember? It took us all summer to get Mickey van der Ven over the line. You know, we've spent however much on loan deals and permanent deals for Romero over the years. Look, guys, I do want to end the show there. I've had a thoroughly good time today. We'll see what we can come up with again tomorrow. And tomorrow's good because we've got the game in the evening as well. So, guys and girls, please join me in thanking Dan E at Hotspur Hood. Please go and subscribe to him. Please subscribe to the 2 Mark show. Thank you very much to the Sheriff, and thank you to Corey, Mouth of the South. Thank you very much. Really appreciate you all. Listen, if you wouldn't mind, guys, I am going to direct you over to my video on FHTV Plus, which is premiering in 60 seconds. Please do me a favor. Just chuck it a like. Just watch it even for a couple of minutes. Help with the algorithm. It really would help. Join me and Stel. We're live at 5 p.m. for Savva and Stel Ask Us Anything. And then tonight, I might do a live score show on Big Up. I'm not sure, depending. I might want a night off. But guys, girls, thank you very much. Mate. Huh?
Be with the wife. Give it a night off.
Maybe. Take care, everyone. Ange out, Levy out, Enoch out, Mun out, Lang out, and come on, you Spurs.